We invite up Brandy Fisher to introduce our guest for the immigration justice message.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm so thrilled to have my worlds collide tonight and to have Dr. Micah Kubic with the ACLU of Kansas with us here at Beth Torah. I've been fortunate to have been involved with the ACLU for several years and have served as their board president for the last 3 years. Micah has served as our executive director since January 2022. With 26 years of experience in civil rights and racial justice work, Micah leads the largest advocacy organization in the state of Kansas, defending and strengthening the rights that belong to each of us under the Constitution. He previously served as the ACLU of Kansas's executive director from 2015 to 2018. Then he left us to lead the ACLU of Florida, one of the nation's largest ACLU affiliates. But we were able to bring him back, where he was for 3 years, and we were able to bring him back, and he's been back since 2022. Prior to joining the staff of the ACLU, Micah was the Director of Planning, Development, and Evaluation at the Full Employment Council, a Kansas City area workforce development agency, Senior Program Officer at Greater Kansas City Local Initiative Support Corporation, also known as LISC, a community development organization, and the Legislative Director for a Kansas City councilman. He holds bachelor degrees from George Washington University, as well as a master's and doctorate in Black politics from Howard University. His book, Freedom, Inc. and Black Political Empowerment, was published by the University of Missouri Press in 2016. You're in for such a treat. I'm so thrilled that Micah has joined us tonight as part of our immigration series, and I'll turn it over to him.
Well, good evening, everyone. That was pretty good, but I will give you another opportunity because I saw some people's mouths stayed quiet. So when I extend the greeting, it is your job to return it. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Much better. See how much better it is then? So it is really such a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you for welcoming me into your congregation here. Thank you for having me. I especially want to thank Brandy Fisher, not just for inviting me this evening. She is our board president at the ACLU of Kansas, but more importantly, she is my friend. She has been a bedrock of support for me and for our work, and she has just been an amazing leader in this community in so many respects at Mainstream and beyond, and I am deeply, deeply grateful for her and to know her. So thank you for having me tonight. So I was thinking a little bit on the way over here about what I wanted to say this evening. And my father is from Louisiana, from the Deep South, a place where storytelling is both an art and a pastime. So it is often the case that when I'm thinking of trying to find wisdom somewhere, I go to stories. And so the one that came to me as I was driving here this evening was one I heard not long ago about a park. There was a park, a big city park, and in this park, it had one of those model train rides, you know, the ones that kids like to get on. They're not miniature, but they're model, and, you know, they're not the whole thing. And this particular train ride was large enough that there was an aisle down the middle, there were seats on other side, and it would just go round and round the park. And so one day, there were some adolescents who decided to get on board this train ride. And because adolescents do what they do, which means they oftentimes make poor decisions, they split up across the cars, and it had been going a little bit, and one of them yanked that brake cord that was on the side of the train, brought the whole thing to a stop, to a screeching halt. Well, the fellow who ran the ride on the other side, he just pulled the cord on the other side of the train, released those brakes, it started to go again. Well, another adolescent in the next car over, they decided they weren't done with their prank yet, so he decided to pull the brake cord again. Once again, the fellow on the other side who worked the ride, he pulled the cord so that the brake released and it went forward. This happened a few times before finally the adolescents caught on and said to the person running the ride, well, what's going on here? I'm pulling the brake cord. How come this train keeps rolling? And the fella running the ride said, well, what you are pulling on your side of the train is the brake cord. It makes the whole thing stop. But my cord on this side, it releases the brakes, and more importantly, it goes all the way to the front of the train, tells the engineer we can go again. My cord reaches further than yours. My cord reaches further. What's the point of this story? Where am I going with this? I think there are a lot of folks running around this country today who think that they have all the power, that they can pull the brake cord and bring things to a screeching halt. What they don't realize is that those of us who don't share those views, our cord reaches further. Our cord reaches further. Our cord reaches into values. Our cord reaches into the Constitution and rights. Our cord reaches into the power of people. Oh, I'm telling you, our cord reaches further. And that is what gives me hope in this very difficult moment. I don't know if you've noticed things are a little tough right now, but I have hope and confidence because I know that our cord reaches further. And I think there are a couple different places, even in immigration, even in this most difficult, torturous issue that we are facing right now, where our cord reaches further and we got a lot to hold on to here. I just want to mention a few of them to you this evening. The first one I want to mention to you is perhaps the one that you have heard the most about, or at least I hope you have, which is that back decades ago, at the beginning of 2025, on the very first day of the second Trump administration, one of the very first things that then President Trump did was sign an executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship in this country. Thank you, it's an appropriate thing to his. Signed this executive order to get rid of birthright citizenship. Now let us be clear, first of all, birthright citizenship is written into the Constitution. It is a constitutional amendment that was passed, which means you don't get to get rid of it through an executive order. An executive order really, it's important, it's power, blah, 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 blah. Really, it's a memo. It's a memo. It's not the Constitution, it's not the law, it has some power, but it's not more important than the law or the Constitution. You don't get to strike pieces out of the Constitution with a little raggedy memo. And that is what the president sought to do with that executive order on that very first day. Now, the president did this, and much of the dialogue about this has been in the context of immigration, right? Wants to get rid of birthright citizenship as part of a deportation agenda, as part of a big attack on immigration, and we should recognize it as such. But let us also be clear about why this is so very, very, very important, and that is because birthright citizenship, this constitutional amendment, was the product of the Civil War. It was what we did after the Civil War concluded to extend citizenship to folks who had been formerly enslaved and not regarded as American citizens at all. And so when you attack birthright citizenship, yes, you are attacking immigration, but what you are really trying to do is undo the fruit of the Civil War. What you are really trying to say is that 160 years later, the Confederacy wins after all. I don't know about you, I don't want the Confederacy to win. And so that is why we at the ACLU, 59 minutes after this little raggedy memo was signed, filed a lawsuit to strike it down as violating the Constitution. And that has proceeded, that has moved along and has moved along. It was finally before the United States Supreme Court just a few weeks ago. You might have seen this. This was the one where the president broke the long-standing practice that a president does not go to the Supreme Court, does not sit in on arguments, decided to go for that. He was rude, he got up halfway through, but he went. And the court is about to rule. We expect them to rule later this year. And this is one where we feel very, very confident. Even though the stakes are high, even though there's a lot of drama, it is so very clear that the Constitution has these words in it. It is black and white law. It is very, very clear, such that we feel good that birthright citizenship will be maintained, which is important not only for immigration, not only for stability, not only for certainty, not only for articulating what our values are as a country, but again, in making sure the Confederacy doesn't win. And so this is a place where I would say, the president thought that he had power on his side. He thought he could sign a memo and make the world dance to his tune. He thought he could pull that brake cord, but it turns out our cord reaches further. Our cord reaches into the Constitution and before the courts. And so we feel very, very good that our cord will reach further. That's the first one I want to mention to you. The second one I want to mention to you is right here in Kansas, right here in the state of Kansas, where you may know that about 20 years ago, Kansas decided as a state, collectively, that we would offer in-state tuition benefits to any graduate of a Kansas high school, regardless of their citizenship status or anything else, in-state tuition. It doesn't cost us much. It is really just a way of keeping folks who we have already invested in here in the state. We got enough people trying to leave. I went to Florida. It was a mistake. Don't go. Stay here. Stay in Kansas. It is our way of keeping people here, strengthening our community, strengthening our society, strengthening our economy. And it is a way of saying, a bunch of these folks are kids who are here through no choice of their own. Their citizenship status is not something that they control. Let us not punish people for their citizenship status. And so 20 years ago, we said that. Long before many other states joined us, we said that. We did that 20 years ago. And for the last 2 decades, every single year, the Kansas state legislature has considered a bill to repeal those in-state tuition benefits. Every single year, like clockwork. You can be certain every year in January what some of the bills are going to be. You can be sure that on the first day there will be bills to restrict reproductive health care, and there will be a bill to eliminate in-state tuition. If any of those things stop happening, check for, like the aliens visiting or something from outer space. Something has gone really wrong. Those are 2 things that happen every single year. And every year, we collectively in the state have pushed back on that, have defeated it. A vast coalition of folks who otherwise don't really like each other very much, folks who don't really agree on very much, have come together for different reasons to say in-state tuition is important to our economy and to our values. Every year, they have held it off. This year, we held it off again, but I have to tell you, it was the closest it has ever been. This was the year, I'm an optimistic soul, this is the year I got a little nervous. This was the year that it got very, very close. And we already know, because they've done it every year for 20 years, they're going to come back and try again in January to eliminate in-state tuition. And what I want to say about that again is it is a trivial, it is not even a drop in the bucket of the state budget. If anything, it is a net boon because these are students who otherwise wouldn't go to college in many cases. The in-state tuition benefit makes the difference between pursuing an education and not. But beyond that, it is again a sign, it is a symbol of whether we are a welcoming state or not. It gives an indication of what our values are, who we think matters and who we think does not. And that is why it is so critical that we keep in-state tuition. And so that's a place where what we have to do collectively is make sure that folks in Topeka know how valuable this is to us. The folks who are deciding this are our elected officials. They are accountable to voters. They are accountable to our communities. And so it is a place where this year we prevailed because of the power of people. It wasn't just that these legislators sat in a room by themselves and decided, I think I'll do the right thing today. No. They did it directly. Because people got in touch with them and said this is something that matters to us. The folks on the other side, the folks who want to get rid of in-state tuition, again, they thought they could yank that brake cord. They thought this was the year where it was going to stick. But once again, the power of people meant that our cord reached further. That's the second one. The third one that I want to mention to you is around something that you may not have heard of before. It's a technical thing called a 287G agreement. I know some of you have fallen asleep already because that sounds boring, right? I mean, I fell asleep. 287G agreements are where local police officials, local law enforcement, agree to be deputized by ICE, by the Immigration and Customs Agency, to do some of their work for them. And these are agreements that have a long and troubled history in our country. They are not something Donald Trump invented. They are something that goes back longer. They are an immigration policy that has been very problematic since the Obama years. But what they really mean are that local cops agree to do ICE's work for it. It leads to racial profiling. And let us be honest with each other. The only way that the Trump administration will be able to implement its deportation agenda of deporting however X many millions of people it is, the number keeps changing, it keeps growing. It's not based on anything, they just make up the number, right? So maybe it's 10 million, maybe it's 25 million, I don't know. Whatever the number is, the only way they're gonna reach that sort of scale, they don't have enough ICE agents to do it. They don't have enough Border Patrol agents to do it. The only way you can deport millions of people is if local police officials agree to cooperate and to be deputized in these 287G agreements. The fact that it has this technical math name, right? People are scared of math, right? So just the fact that it has a number, people are scared of it right away. The fact that it has such a technical name stops people from engaging with it. But it is a sign that sometimes you can conceal the most evil of things with the most banal of terms. And that is what is happening here. The good news about this is that it is not up to the Trump administration whether these agreements flower all over the country. It's not up to the state legislature. It's not up to those elected officials. Who it's up to is our local county officials, county sheriffs, local city councils. They're the ones who have to decide whether to agree to be part of ICE or not. And so this is a place where we have power collectively to say, this is not what we want in our community. These are not our values. This is not what we're going to do. We have the power to do that, and luckily, many, many jurisdictions right here in Johnson County and around the state are doing just that. Our job is to make sure that they continue to know that these are not our values, this is not what we want to do, and that they don't get suckered in to signing one of these 287G agreements. Again, a place where the administration thinks they can pull that cord. They can make local law enforcement do their bidding, join their efforts, but where, again, the power of people means that our cord reaches further. Fourth and last one, and then I'm going to leave you alone. Fourth and last one. This is one that you probably haven't thought about in the immigration context at all. So come August, there's a discussion in this state about the selection of our state Supreme Court justices. There's a discussion about whether we should get rid of the merit-based system we have now that is the envy of the nation that creates fair and impartial justices, or whether we should instead go to a system that is politicized and partisan, where judges become politicians and where billionaire political donors get to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on Supreme Court races. That is the discussion. What has that got to do with immigration? Well, this is a time when many legal issues are not always going to federal courts, but are rather going to state courts. This is a time when there are legal issues in Kansas about whether folks can be detained in local jails beyond a certain period of time because ICE wants them. This is a time when something like what's called a habeas petition about whether someone is going to be detained or not is granted. And those are state-level legal issues in addition to federal ones. There's a federal issue there, and there's some state issues under our state constitution and the state law. Well, where do y'all think those state-level issues go? They go to the state Supreme Court. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but over the course of the next few years, I guarantee you, some of those issues are going to wind up before the state Supreme Court. And so if you care about immigrants' rights, if you care about welcoming the stranger, then it is important that you care about whether the state Supreme Court remains fair and impartial or not. You don't have to prejudge the outcome. I'm not going to. There are decisions that the state Supreme Court has rendered that I agree with, and many that I disagree with. That is irrelevant. What is relevant is whether the court will be fair and impartial and whether the decision will be made before we even cross the threshold. Whether the decision will already be made because billionaire donors elsewhere have a different policy preference they want. That is something that will impact every single issue in this state, from health care to public school funding, to voting rights, to LGBT rights, to immigration. Every single issue in this state will wind up before the state Supreme Court. And once again, you can probably guess what I'm going to say now. This is a place where they thought the folks who are stimulating this discussion, who want this change, think they can pull on a brake cord to stop immigrants' rights, to stop voting rights, to stop really 100 years worth of progress. They think they can pull a brake cord that'll not only stop us, but send us back in time a few centuries. But once again, I believe that they have misjudged, and that instead the power of people, the power of voters, means that our cord reaches so much further than that. Our cord reaches further in every respect. So those are the ones that I want to mention to you tonight. There's a lot of bleakness in the world right now. There's a lot of darkness in the world right now. It is easy to get depressed and dismayed and despondent, and don't do that. Don't do that. Don't let yourself wallow in that. Instead, remember that despite all the breaking they want to do, our cord reaches further. The cord of our rights reaches further. The cord of our values reaches further. The cord of the power of people reaches further. Our cord reaches further, and all we got to do is pull it.